Well, my arm is still sore from holding down, but we got enough of a sample and he's positive.
I knew he was.
And
He doesn't act like this unless it is.
So strep positive. It came back a few minutes ago. I was just in that next room,
That's fine.
8:41. And so he's got strep. So the nice thing with strep is as an endpoint, he needs to get 2 doses of medications today, 2 different doses, and he'll be fine going to school tomorrow. What pharmacy do y'all use? And we're fine though.
So we use Walmart on Milwaukee.
82nd.
They're sold out of toilet paper. Yeah, 82nd. Do I need to go to a different location? Sorry. No, yeah, Walmart on Milwaukee.
82nd
Sorry.
Milwaukee. No, you're fine. Do you swallow pills okay? Okay, so.
Yeah, I mean.
Would you
Yes
rather
or
have pills
no?
or liquids?
Do you want liquid
I
or
would
pill?
rather have a liquid,
Okay.
but I don't have a problem swallowing.
Okay, so, but you'd rather have a liquid?
Yes.
Okay,
I don't think
so
he's ever had a big
that's okay.
antibiotic
So,
pill,
so
probably
we'll,
not.
we'll do 2 teaspoons of liquid twice a day.
Okay.
Will be what we do. Now, so as far as school, I was trying to look back through stuff in the past. So back at 14, some attention and hyperactive tendencies. When you look back at this last one, some behavior problems at school, and I know that was actually in July, so that was the past year that we were in ISS several different times. Do you remember that? Okay, so depending on, I mean, definitely it sure sounds like that we like to, that we end up getting involved in activities that get us in trouble. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's mainly
Stop,
you,
please.
whether it's mainly someone else, we get involved in activities that we end up in trouble with. And so we do see that a little bit more with kids that struggle with attention and kids that struggle with hyperactivity. Now, there's some kids that we want to diagnose with ADHD. That really comes down to whatever y'all want. If we want to do that, then we get forms from the school, because we don't rate it based on what mom says or based on what Tucker says. We go based on what you say in addition to how the school rates us. Definitely I'm worried about some of Tucker's behaviors as far as his impulsivity, because we have had ISS a lot. Now, not every kid with ADHD needs to be on medications, but we have had several notes from the school plus several ISSs in the past. If you diagnosed with ADHD, your advantages are, I mean, maybe you get some accommodations at school, some preferential seating, some smaller testing
But why would
area.
he need accommodations if he's taking pre-AP? He should probably consider not taking pre-AP.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't gotten ISS this year.
Sure, and so that's good in that situation.
And I
But
usually get in trouble with one teacher.
yeah, and so if it's one teacher, that could just be a conflict. Now, again, you still got to do your best. I promise that students that act good will not get in trouble even with that one teacher, but there's always one teacher that's got higher needs or just gets kids more in trouble. There are some kids that do some caffeine before school that may help out if
He
they've
won't
got some.
take it.
Okay, so won't take any caffeine.
We buy him sodas and he'll drink them in the evening, but he won't do it before school.
Okay, well, I wouldn't let him drink them in the evening because that'll throw off, and so I would get rid of that. But I mean, again, the sodas can be different things: Mountain Dews, Cokes. It could be coffee. It could be anything that's got caffeine inside it. Now, they do make kind of some over-the-counter caffeine pills, and so some of these that people use sometimes for ADHD are called Spark, S-P-A-R-K, and it's really just some caffeine that's in a pill. It's made by a company called Advocare, and there are some people that do that. And again, sometimes even a little bit of caffeine can take someone from being unfocused to suddenly they're more focused and they're more rigid. And so that's a possibility to be able to consider doing also, maybe to give you some outside benefit.
So I think my most concern is the consequences. I just don't feel like we're doing what we need at home.
Sure.
Like, again, all we're doing is taking away the Xbox for 24 hours, or he does an extra chore or two, which
Sure.
is
Well,
sweeping or something.
Sure. Well, and there can be consequences. So that there may have to be some written bylaws that say, hey, if this is what happened, you lose your Xbox for 24 hours. If this happens within the next week, you lose it for a week. Okay, and so we know the rules, they're written down. And again, to me, it's okay for him to make a mistake and for you to pull his Xbox for a week, because he learns that that's a consequence. If I speed home today, I may learn there's a consequence waiting for me if I get a ticket. But if I didn't get a ticket, I'd never learn that I shouldn't be speeding. If he does it and we frequently are pulling it every day for 10 days in a row, then at some point it needs to be written. The first time is going to be that. If you get one anytime in the next week after we've pulled it once, we go to a full week. Now we can cry and we can whine, but that's part of life. You know the rules, it's written down. And maybe there's a reward for several good days of behavior.
Yeah,
if
we
you
don't
do
do
several
that.
Okay, so that we can reward good behavior with a little bit extra Xbox. We can have consequences for things, whether it's grade or being
Extra
disrespectful
Xbox,
or
then
other
yes,
stuff.
we do that.
So we can do that, but we need to have rules and we need to be consistent with them right there. And again, you shouldn't feel bad if he loses the Xbox. That was a consequence he made. But maybe there's something for if we're doing well, if we're studying, if we're getting less write-ups, if we're doing better, more respectful, then there's a positive reward. That doesn't mean $200 every time he has a good day, but it may be that he can earn more video games on the weekend. But again, don't have it, if we pull something, there probably should be a rule that says if he gets pulled again in the next week, then we go to, lose it for a full week, and there's nothing you can do to earn it back. You can be nice. Now, you can keep losing it, but there's nothing
So
you can do.
that would be more for the write-ups. What about the email that says he has 4 low grades of 60s?
Sure. Well, and that may be, we just may need to limit grades until we get those things. Most of the teachers will work with you to try to get assignments turned back in or corrected. And so it may be that we
That's
hold off.
his excuse, though.
Sure.
That he thinks that I can keep getting these emails every week with 50s or 60s because he's going to catch it up.
Well, and that maybe need to be part of the thing you write up. If we get a grade less than 70, we're out of video games for 7 days, and the grades have to be brought back up. So they can be brought up, but you're out for 7 days.
So are you saying like grades or only assignments? Because those aren't technically grades, he says.
Up to you on that one right there, but I would find something that's consistent that y'all both know what's going on. It's hard if he doesn't know the rules, and so he's not if he doesn't know what he can't do. And if he gets away with it, then I blame both of you. That sounds weird, but it's both of you have to take responsibility. If you set the rules, now he knows what the rules are. He can decide whether to follow or break the rules, but there's going to be consequences if we're getting 60s with a kid that's bright like Tucker. So Tucker should be able to do better than 60s, and we should be able to turn in more appointments again or more assignments. If it feels like we're struggling getting stuff turned in school, then we may need to do Vanderbilt testing, which is getting information from the teachers. But again, with that, we're looking for a diagnosis of ADHD, and if we're not worried about trying to make that diagnosis, then I'm not worried. I would consider the stuff like the Advocare. Again, that's kind of an
They went out of business.
Do what? No, they still have that, and so, but those would be caffeine pills. I wouldn't do the caffeine in the evening because then we won't sleep very well. And so if he didn't want to take the caffeine drink, that's okay. But I do think something to help get him a little bit more focused could be a good thing, and that's a safe way to be able to do that.
Okay.
And so, but yeah, I would come up with him and let him participate in the writing. Again, if he turns in all his assignments and isn't disrespectful, he never has to worry about any other stuff. But I think the first one doesn't need to be a warning. The first one needs to be a day. But the second one doesn't need to be a day. If it happens a day later, it needs to be a longer consequence.
Yeah, we were just adding another day instead of a whole week.
But you can let him look at it and then make sure y'all both may need to sign it at the bottom. Hey, this is everybody in the family knows what's going on. And what I wouldn't do is I wouldn't single Tucker out. I would say, listen, if it's for you, it's also for everyone else inside the house, aka siblings. And so if we need to do it, it's got to be everybody inside the house again.
No gaming?
That's what no. If anybody breaks the rules,
oh,
then
I was like, what? That means Dad?
Phone's another thing that's another way to do that. And again, I don't want to be mean with that, but those things are earned; those are not expected to be given. And my kid
lost his phone.
My kids don't like losing their phone, but that's part of the consequence. And if they do things right, they don't lose their phone. But when they make a poor choice, there needs to be a consequence for it, just so we can teach kids. And we're not mean, we're not yelling at them for it, but that's part of the consequence. Hey, this is what it is. This is what's in our contract. We have to do it. But the second one needs to be bigger than the first if it's within that next 7 days afterwards. If it's 3 weeks later, I'm not as worried. They did well for 3 weeks, and then maybe consider what we can do if he does good for a week or two. This is what maybe.
Do your twins have social media?
They do, but we limit it.
Which ones?
So, do what?
Which social media?
They've got Facebook. Well, they're never on that. They do stuff with Instagram and stuff, and so. But I'm okay if they didn't.
Tucker abused his privileges by creating bogus accounts and never told us, so we completely took it away.
And he's a bright kid, so he's going to be able to do that. But yeah, I think that's fair right there. And so if it was I don't have any Instagram on mine, I don't have any Facebook, I don't have any tweeting ability, I don't know how to get to TikTok videos, I don't know any of that stuff.
But you know the names.
I know the names.
You're listening to them.
I don't know how to get to any of them, but I hear people talking about them. But I think that's fair right there to be able to hold us. That's not being a mean parent. That's being a proactive parent and being a good parent from my standpoint.
Okay,
so,
that's it.
Well, I'll send this in. It'll just be a liquid for you. It'll be 2 teaspoons. We do want to change toothbrushes.
Oh, wait,
He's fine going tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Well, even though you had a fever today? Okay.
With having strep, it's 24
they-
hours
yeah,
contagious, and so since we know what it is, he should be in good shape up there
Okay.
in school
And
tomorrow.
is that excuse for Monday and today?
Yes, well, it'll say can return tomorrow, so it'll cover both of those.
Okay.
But
What's your question?
I don't mean to sound like, I don't know how to put it, but like, I don't have a problem drinking the caffeine. It's just like the drinks. Like, I know it's weird, but like, it's just hard to drink some of the drinks you
okay.
buy.
Well, and so I mean, I think
That's why he's saying to take a pill or something.
I think that's where it's fair to talk to your mom, and if there's something you will drink that has caffeine, to let you help pick it up. If she's got to go to Walmart to pick up some medications, you might can go there and try to find some. There can be half of a Monster drink. We can let you pick it out. There's not necessarily one form of caffeine. None of them are great for you, but they may help him focus. And so we might let him look, and if he doesn't see anything, we go the route of the.
They have many Monster drinks?
Well, I mean, you get a bigger box of drink, but just drink half of it one day and half of it the next day. I probably wouldn't drink the whole thing.
So
or
they
not
don't
be able-
sell like the caffeine pills at Walmart, or they do?
No, they should have those. They should have those, any of those, like those Advocare. They're called Spark, S-P-A-R-K.
Advocate at Walmart?
Do what?
At Walmart?
Well, they may not at
I
Walmart.
thought they were
but they-
reps.
No,
Yeah.
Mom, I like to drink the like what we have right now, but like those ones we had last time, I cannot.
Oh yeah, I was buying
I-
organic
I-
stuff
I-
made in Walmart.
I bet they carry Spark at Walmart. You can ask the pharmacist, but I
Oh,
bet they
okay.
carry some sort of caffeine pills.
Well,
right
now that
there.
they don't have reps, right? They probably did go to stores.
Because those are over the counter. Those don't need prescriptions, so I bet that those are in all those. Because I don't usually write for those, but I have parents all the time that are telling me that they're either taking it or their kid's taking it. But if he wants to pick out what kind of drink he wants, as long as it's caffeine, I'm okay with him picking that out. There's
So
not
just
one
in the
that's
morning.
better. But yes, just in the morning, not at night, because if so, he's going to be up all night long.
So he
and
wouldn't
that's
need
not
another
good.
one at lunch to get through the day?
Not typically, but I would start with the morning and see how we do.
Okay.
And if you start getting reports back that he's an angel all day long until 2 or 3, then we consider what we
When's
do at lunch.
your art teacher that you drive crazy? Is it morning or afternoon?
Right after lunch.
Okay.
So I would still think it'd be kicking in, but we could see if that becomes a problem in the afternoon, then we consider adding in something smaller for lunch.
So you think if he's able to pass all his grades, like just recently he's gotten 270s. He's been
Okay.
like AB all year
Okay.
with a high C, so you think it would still be okay for him to take pre-AP?
I do, yeah. I mean,
I don't want to discourage him from
yeah,
that
I
because
think so. And again, it's
I
not-
was in special ed, so I'm just
Yeah.
astonished.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, but yeah, I think Tucker's smart enough to be able to do that. There's no doubt in my mind. Now, we may need some help focusing on there, and hopefully those caffeine pieces up, but yeah, I don't think there'd be any problem with him being able to do that.
Okay. I
All
don't
right,
ever want to discourage him from pre-AP.
No, absolutely, no, we want to try to keep them being creative and try to keep him doing what he can, testing on time, so. All right, Mr. Tucker, you did good, man. Didn't mean to hurt you with the swab, okay? I don't hate you, I promise
He
you.
did say sorry when you walked out
Well,
the
no,
door. I don't know if you heard him.
Never my goal to hurt anybody, so I apologize. Y'all did good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I gotta pay. You can go get a drink outside the office if you want.